Leo was a young explorer who lived on a small desert planet. The planet was dry and dusty. Most people had forgotten about the old days when people lived among the stars. Now, the planet's cities were small, and life was simple. People worked hard to grow food and find water. They told stories about ancient times, but many thought those stories were just myths. Leo loved to explore. He liked walking far from the towns and climbing the rocky hills. One day, while walking near the edge of a big canyon, he saw something strange. Part of a large metal shape was sticking out from the sand. The sun was bright, and the heat made the air look like it was moving. Leo felt curious and excited. He ran closer to see what it was. The metal was old and covered with dust. It looked like a giant door or the side of a ship. Leo had heard stories about old starships that came to this planet along time ago. Some said the ships brought people who made the first cities. Others said the ships left because the planet became too hard to live on. No one knew what really happened. Leo touched the cold metal. It was smooth but heavy. He looked around to see if anyone else was near, but the place was empty. The wind moved the sand, and the only sound was the soft whistle of the desert air. Leo wanted to find out more. He pushed the sand away with his hands and found a small panel with strange symbols on it. The symbols were glowing faintly blue. His heart beat faster. Leo knew this was something important. He looked at the panel carefully. There was a button in the middle. He hesitated for a moment, but then he pressed it. Suddenly, the metal around him began to move. The ship's door opened slowly with a loud creak. Dust and sand fell from the edges. Inside, lights flickered on, and strange machines started to hum. Leo took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air was cool and smelled like old metal and oil. He could see a control room with many buttons and screens. The room was dark, but the lights on the panels gave a soft blue glow. Leo walked carefully, touching the walls and machines. It felt like stepping into another world. He found a seat in front of a large screen. On the screen, there were pictures of stars, planets, and strange maps. Leo did not know how to use the ship, but he wanted to try. He pressed some buttons, and the screen changed. It showed a message in a language he did not understand at first. Then the symbols slowly changed into words he could read. The message said, "System reboot initiated. Power online. Welcome, user." Leo smiled. He felt proud to be the one who found this ancient starship. He pressed more buttons to see what the ship could do. Lights and sounds filled the room. The ship's computer began to speak in a calm voice. "Hello, Leo. I am the ship's guide. This starship is from the time of the first explorers. You have activated the ship after many years of sleep. Please proceed carefully." Leo was surprised but happy. The ship knew his name. He asked the computer, "Where did this ship come from?" The computer replied, "This ship was built to travel between stars and find new worlds. It was part of a great fleet that once protected and helped human colonies. Many years ago, the fleet was lost, and this ship was hidden here to keep it safe." Leo thought about this. He wondered if the stories about the lost human colonies were true. Maybe this ship could help people now. He looked outside the window and saw the desert world shining under the sun. Could this ship bring a new future? Suddenly, the ship started to hum louder. The lights brightened, and the control panels showed more information. Leo realized that by turning on the ship, he had started a process he did not understand. The ship was waking up, and with it, the power inside was growing. Outside the planet, far in space, other old ships and hidden stations began to respond to the signal from Leo's starship. These places had been silent for a long time, but now they were waking too. The signal was like a call across the stars, a call for help and for hope. Back on the planet, Leo felt a mix of fear and excitement. He did not know what would happen next, but he knew he had started something big. He decided to learn everything he could about the ship and its secrets. Maybe, with the help of this ancient starship, he could change the future for everyone. He spent hours in the control room, reading old data and watching the ship's systems come back to life. He found old recordings of people who had built the ship and used it to explore new worlds. The stories told about challenges, wars, and hope. Leo felt connected to those who had come before him. As the sun set, Leo stepped outside the ship. The desert looked peaceful, but now it felt full of possibilities. The stars above were bright, and the future seemed open. He knew this was only the beginning of a new adventure. The ancient starship had been silent for many years, hidden beneath the sand on the desert planet. But now, because of Leo, it was awake. The lights inside the ship glowed steadily, and the machines hummed softly as they came back to life. The ship's computer, which had spoken to Leo before, began to work faster. It searched through old data and sent signals far across space. Leo was still inside the ship. He looked at the control panels filled with strange symbols and numbers. He pressed a few buttons carefully, hoping to understand more. Suddenly, the ship sent out a strong signal. It was like a beacon, calling to other places in space. The signal was wide and clear, passing through the stars and reaching far beyond the planet, far away. On other planets, small groups of people lived quietly. These people were part of old human colonies, but they had lost contact with each other. Over many years, they had forgotten the stories of the great space explorers. Their technology was simple, and their lives were hard. They lived in small villages or towns, far from the big cities of the past. One of these groups was on a green planet filled with forests and rivers. A man named Nico was sitting near a fire with his friends. Suddenly, the communication device in their village started to beep. The device was old and broken, but now it showed a strange message. The message was a signal from the ancient starship that Leo had activated. Nico was curious. He took the device and showed it to the village leader. The leader looked at the signal and saw that it was a call for help and hope. It was a message that promised a better future. The leader decided to send a small group of people to find the source of the signal. Nico was chosen to go because he was brave and good with machines. Back on the desert planet, Leo did not know what was happening. Far away, he was busy learning about the ship. The ship's computer showed him maps of stars and planets. It told him about the lost human colonies that had spread across many worlds. These colonies had grown apart, and many had fallen into hard times. The ship was built to help those colonies, but no one had used it for a long time. Leo felt the weight of this knowledge. He understood that by turning on the ship, he had sent a message that might change everything. He wanted to prepare, but he did not know what to do first. The computer suggested he send a message back to the colonies to tell them the ship was ready to help. Leo spoke to the ship's computer. How can I send a message to these places? I do not know if they will trust me. The computer answered, use the ship's communication system. It can send messages faster than any other device. It will reach the colonies and tell them you want to help. Trust is built through actions, not words. Be patient. Leo agreed and started the process. He wrote a simple message. This is Leo. From the desert planet, I have found an ancient starship. We want to help rebuild and connect all human colonies. Please respond if you hear this. The message was sent with a strong signal into space. Leo waited nervously. Hours passed, and he saw no answer. He thought the message might be lost. But then, a small reply came back. It was from Nico's planet, Nico, and his group had accepted the call. They were ready to travel to the desert planet to meet Leo and learn more about the starship. They knew it might be dangerous, but they wanted to see if this old ship could really bring hope to their people. On the desert planet, the night was calm. The stars shone bright above Leo. He looked at the sky and thought about the journey ahead. The world was quiet now, but soon it would change. The awakening of the starship was only the first step. Meanwhile, on Nico's planet, the small group prepared for their journey. They packed food, water, and simple tools. They knew the trip would be long and hard. Some people in their village did not believe the signal was real. They said it was a trick or a dream. But Nico and his friends trusted the message. They believed that the starship was a chance to bring people back together. As they left their village, the forest was alive with sounds. Birds sang, and leaves rustled in the wind. Nico felt hopeful. He looked at the sky and saw the stars. He hoped the stars would guide them to the desert planet and to Leo. Back on the desert planet, Leo continued to explore the ship. He found rooms filled with old tools, machines, and computers. Some parts were broken, but others worked well. The ship was like a time capsule, holding the past and the future. Leo felt a new strength inside him. He was no longer just a simple explorer. Now, he was the keeper of hope for many people. The ship was not only a machine, but a symbol. It showed that even after many years of silence, the past could speak again. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up something. A small craft was approaching the planet. Leo watched as a bright light moved closer. It was Nico's group coming. To meet him, Leo felt nervous, but ready. He knew this meeting would change everything. The ship opened its main doors again. Leo waited outside. The desert wind blew softly, moving the sand in slow waves. The sky was clear and full of stars. He saw the small craft land nearby. Nico and his friends stepped out, tired but smiling. Leo greeted them warmly. They shared their stories and hopes. They talked about the lost colonies and the hard life they lived. But now, they had a new chance. Together, they could bring back the knowledge and technology of the past. Leo showed them the ship's control room and the messages from the computer. Nico and his friends were amazed. They had never seen anything like this before. The starship was like a treasure chest, full of secrets and power. The group decided to work together. They would fix the ship and use its knowledge to help their people. They knew it would be a long journey, but they were ready. The starship was no longer just a forgotten machine. It was a beacon of hope that could reboot civilization. As the night grew deeper, the group sat around a small fire. They talked about the future and the challenges they would face. Leo looked at the stars and felt a quiet joy. The awakening of the ancient starship had started something new. The future was no longer a mystery, but a path they would walk together. The morning sun rose slowly over the desert planet, casting long shadows on the sand. Leo and the group from Nico's planet gathered outside the ancient starship. The air was cool and fresh. Everyone felt a mix of hope and nervousness. This was the first time in many years that different human colonies were meeting again. The moment was important. Leo looked at Nico and the others. They had traveled far to reach this place. They came because of the starship and the promise it held. Leo smiled and said, "Welcome to the starship. Together, we can learn from the past and build a better future." Nico nodded and replied, "We have many questions, but most of all, we want to know how this ship can help us. Our people need food, water, and safety. We have lived alone for too long." Leo agreed. This ship holds knowledge and tools from the old times. If we work together, we can use that knowledge to solve our problems. But first, we need to understand the ship better. Inside the ship, the group explored the control room and the many rooms full of machines. Mira, one of Nico's friends, was especially interested in the ship's maps and star charts. She traced her finger over the planets marked on the screens. This ship traveled too many worlds. Mira said, "Some of these places might still have people living there, but they are lost and alone like us." Leo looked at the maps. If we can contact those places, we can bring everyone back together. We can share resources and knowledge. The ship's computer spoke softly. "I have information about many human colonies. Some are close, and some are far. I can help you send messages and receive answers." The group worked with the ship's computer. They sent out messages to nearby colonies. Hours passed, and then small replies came back. Some were from people who were cautious and afraid. Others were from people who wanted to join and share in the new hope. Leo and Nico understood that this was only the beginning. The road ahead would be long and difficult. Many places had forgotten the old ways. They would need to convince others. That change was possible. One day, while exploring deeper into the ship, Leo found an old recording room. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared. It showed a man in a uniform speaking to a group of people. The man said, "We built this ship to protect humanity and help it grow among the stars. We faced many dangers, but we never lost hope. Even if we are gone, Our work will live on. Leo watched the recording carefully. He felt connected to the people in the past. They had believed in a better future just like he did now. Mira spoke quietly. We must honor their hope by working hard. We cannot let their efforts be lost. Leo agreed. We will make sure the starship's mission continues. We will rebuild what was lost. Outside the ship, the desert world seemed quiet. But news of the starship's awakening had spread. More people from nearby settlements started to arrive. They came with questions and hopes. They wanted to see if the starship could bring real change. Leo and the group welcomed the newcomers. They shared what they had learned and showed the ship's power. People were amazed by the old technology, and many felt inspired. But not everyone was happy. Some leaders from small villages feared the changes. They thought the old ways were safer. They worried that the starship's power might bring danger or take away their freedom. A man named Joram, a village leader, spoke to his people. We should not trust strangers or strange machines. The past is gone for a reason. We must protect our people and keep our ways. This caused tension. Some people wanted to listen to Leo and Nico, while others sided with Joram. The groups argued about what was best for their future. Leo knew that unity was important. He called a meeting in the ship's main hall. We must work together, not fight. The starship's power is not for one group but for all people. We have a chance to build a future where everyone is safe and strong. Nico added. The past mistakes should teach us to be careful, but also to be brave. We cannot stay divided if we want to survive. Slowly, some people agreed to join the effort. They decided to repair the ship and use its knowledge to help their villages. Others stayed behind. Unsure or afraid, Leo and Nico understood that this was normal. Change was never easy. They promised to respect everyone's choices, but continued to work for the good of all. Days passed, and the ship's repair progressed. The group found tools and parts inside the ship to fix broken machines. They built small systems to provide clean water and power for the nearby villages. The ship's computer taught them how to use old technology in new ways. It was like learning a new language, but filled with hope. One evening, Leo looked at the stars and thought about the future. The starship had awakened more than machines. It had awakened a dream of a better world where people could live in peace and share their knowledge. He smiled and said to Mira, "We have a long way to go, but we are on the right path. This ship is not just a machine. It is a new beginning." Mira nodded. "Together, we will bring the lost colonies back to life. We will build a new civilization, stronger than before." Leo felt proud but knew the work was just starting. The starship was alive, and so was the hope for humanity. The journey to rebuild civilization had begun. The ancient starship stood tall in the desert sunlight. Its metal surface reflected the bright sky. Around it, the small group of people worked hard. Leo, Nico, Mira, and others repaired the ship's machines and explored its secrets. Each day brought new discoveries and new hope. News about the starship spread quickly. More people from nearby settlements came to see it. They listened to Leo and Nico talk about rebuilding the lost human colonies. They saw the power inside the ship and believed it could help their people. Slowly, a growing movement of hope began. One morning, a large group arrived from a village days away. Their leader was a calm woman named Lyra. She carried important NG. "Many villages want to join you," she said. "They hear the message of the starship and want to be part of the new future." Leo welcomed Lyra warmly. "Together, we are stronger. The starship can connect us all. We will share knowledge, food, and safety." Lyra nodded. "Our people have waited a long time for hope. We will help you rebuild." The group inside the starship worked to send new messages. The ship's computer guided them, teaching them how to use old communication tools. They sent signals to distant colonies, some near and some very far. The response was slow, but it came. Small groups of people sent back messages of hope and willingness to join. One day, Mira studied the ship's ancient maps. She pointed to a cluster of stars far away. "These colonies are forgotten. We must find them. They need help." Leo agreed. "We will prepare the ship to travel. We must visit them and bring them back to the new civilization. The work was not easy. Some machines were broken, and parts were missing. The group had to invent tools and find materials in the desert. To fix the ship, they built workshops and taught others to repair and build machines. The people learned quickly. Each day, the starship became stronger and more alive. While the ship was repaired, the villages around the desert planet began to change. They shared food and water. Farmers learned new ways to grow crops. Children went to small schools where they learned from old books found in the ship's archives. The new movement was bringing life back to the land, but not all was peaceful. Some people still feared the changes. They remembered old wars and mistakes. A man named Joram, from a distant village, led a group who wanted to stop the movement. They said the starship was dangerous and that people should stay apart. One evening, Joram's group came near the starship. They shouted warnings and threatened to destroy the machines. Leo and Nico met them calmly. "Why do you fear the starship?" Leo asked. "It is a chance to build a better world." Joram shook his head. "The past brought war and pain. We do not want to repeat it. We want peace, but on our own terms," Nico replied. "Peace comes when people work together. Alone, we are weak. Together, we are strong." The argument was hard, but Leo and Nico did not give up. They invited Joram's group to talk and see the changes for themselves. Slowly, some of them agreed to listen. Leo knew that trust would take time. He believed that through patience and kindness, the movement could grow even stronger. One day, a new message came from a distant colony. It was a place called Arden, far beyond the stars shown on the ship's maps. The message said, "We hear your call. We are ready to join." The group inside the ship was excited. This was the chance to travel beyond their world and find others. They began to prepare the ship for a long journey. Leo and Mira worked with the ship's computer to learn how to fly. The old starship had powerful engines and advanced technology, but it needed repairs and careful handling. They studied every detail and practiced on small tests. The people from the villages helped. They gathered resources and built new tools. Everyone wanted to be part of the new future. Before the journey, Leo called a meeting. "We are about to leave our home to find others. This is a new beginning for all of us. We will face challenges, but together, we can overcome anything." Mira added, "We will bring back those who are lost and rebuild a strong civilization. The starship is our hope and our future." The group cheered and prepared to start the engines. The starship's lights glowed brighter than ever. The desert world was quiet, but full of dreams. As the engines hummed to life, Leo looked at the sky. The stars were waiting, and the adventure was just beginning. The starship's engines hummed steadily as it soared above the desert planet. Leo and the crew felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. They were leaving their home for the first time in many years. Their mission was to find lost colonies and bring people back together. The future was unknown, but hope filled their hearts. As they traveled through space, the ship's computer showed them maps of many planets. Some were close, and others were far. Leo studied the charts carefully. Each planet held stories of people who had lived alone for generations. Now, it was their chance to find those people and rebuild connections. But the journey was not easy. Some on the ship began to feel doubt. Nico looked worried one evening as he spoke to Leo. "What if the colonies have changed too much? What if they do not want to join us?" Leo understood these fears. Change is hard. People might be afraid or angry, but we must try. We cannot give up, Mira added. "We have the starship and the knowledge. We can show them a better way." The first colony they reached was called Vesa. It was a small world with green fields and small villages. The people of Vesa had lived apart for many years. Their technology was simple, and they were cautious of strangers. When Leo and the crew landed, the people watched the starship with fear and wonder. A man named Taro, the leader of Vesa, met them. He was quiet but kind. Taro said, "We have heard stories of other worlds, but we keep to ourselves. We are not sure if we can trust you." Leo replied, "We come with hope and friendship. We want to help you grow stronger and connect with others. Taro looked at the starship and then at Leo's group. Show us your intentions. Help us with our needs, and then we will listen. The crew worked hard to earn the trust of Vase's people. They helped repair water systems and shared seeds for new crops. They taught the villagers how to use simple machines from the ship's archives. Slowly, the people of Vesa began to trust them. They saw the benefits of working together. Mira helped organize meetings where people shared ideas and hopes, but not everyone agreed. Some villagers remembered old conflicts and warned against change. They feared that joining the new movement might bring danger or loss of their way of life. One night, a small group of villagers met secretly. They planned to stop the starship crew from changing their world. They thought it was safer to stay. Alone. Leo heard of their plans. He spoke to Taro and Mira. We must be careful. Change must come with respect. Taro agreed. We will listen to all voices and work slowly. This is their home, and their wishes matter. The starship crew continued their mission. They visited other colonies, each with its own challenges. Some were welcoming, while others were wary or hostile. On a cold, rocky planet called Doran, the crew faced strong resistance. The people there had built walls to keep others out. Their leader, Kira, was firm and distrustful. Kira said, "We survived alone. We do not need help." Leo replied, "Survival is important, but so is connection. Together, we can protect each other better." Kira did not answer, but her people watched carefully. The crew decided to leave gifts and messages of peace before moving on. Throughout their travels, Leo and his team learned that rebuilding civilization was not just about machines or knowledge. It was about trust, patience, and respect. Back on the starship, Mira often studied the old records. She found stories of past explorers who faced similar challenges. Those stories gave her hope. One evening, Leo gathered the crew. We have met many people and faced doubts, but we must not lose hope. Our journey is difficult, but it is worth it. Nico smiled. We will keep trying. We will bring people back together. The crew worked harder than ever. They repaired the starship's systems and prepared for the next colony. Each new world was a step closer to rebuilding humanity. As they traveled, Leo looked out at the stars. He thought of the people waiting for help and the future they could build together. The starship was more than a machine. It was a symbol of hope and unity. The journey was only beginning, but Leo believed in the dream of a better civilization. Together, they would overcome the challenges and doubts ahead. The starship glided quietly through space, carrying Leo, Nico, Mira, and their growing group of followers. Each new world they visited added to their hope and their work. The ancient ship was no longer just a machine. It was a symbol of a new beginning for humanity. After many visits to different colonies, the group returned to the desert planet. It was time to begin a greater task. They wanted to help the people rebuild their lives, not just visit. The starship's knowledge and technology held the key to this future. Leo stood outside the ship, looking at the desert that had been his home. It was a harsh world, but it was filled with promise. He turned to Mira and said, "We have brought hope to many, but now we must build a new life for everyone." Mira nodded. "We have the tools. Now, we need to teach people how to use them." The group began by repairing old machines that could provide clean water. Water was precious in the desert, and many villages struggled to find enough. Using the starship's archives, they built new water filters and simple pumps. The villagers helped by collecting parts and working together. Next, they focused on food. The starship's records showed advanced farming techniques that could grow crops in dry soil. Leo and Mira taught the farmers how to prepare the land and care for the plants. Slowly, green fields began to appear in the desert. Children gathered in small groups to learn. Mira helped create schools where the old books from the starship's library were shared. The children learned about science, history, and the stars. Their eyes shone with curiosity and excitement. Nico worked with the engineers to fix the starship's communication systems. Now, villages could talk to each other and share ideas. This new connection brought a feeling of unity. People realized they were not alone. The new movement grew stronger each day. Villages sent representatives to the desert planet to learn and share. They built roads and simple vehicles to travel faster. The starship became a center of hope and learning. But rebuilding was not only about machines. It was about people working together, trusting each other, and dreaming of a better future. Leo often spoke at gatherings, encouraging everyone. "We are building more than homes or farms," he said. "We are building a family, a civilization. Together, we will grow strong." Not all challenges were easy. Some villages still feared change or held old grudges. Leo and his friends worked patiently to heal old wounds. They helped people talk and understand each other. One day, Mira met with a group of elders from a nearby village. They were worried about losing their traditions. Mira listened carefully and said, "Your traditions are important. They are part of who you are. We want to help you keep them alive while building a better life." The elders smiled. They felt heard and respected. This was the beginning of true unity. As the seasons passed, the desert planet changed. Green fields stretched over the land. Clean water flowed through new pipes. Children laughed in schools. The people had hope again. Leo stood on a hill one evening, watching the sunset. The sky was filled with stars, just as it had been when he first found the starship. Now, those stars were a promise of a new civilization born from the past, strong and bright. Mira joined him and said, "We have come far, but this is just the start. The starship will help us reach other worlds. We will bring more people back." Leo smiled. "Yes, the future is wide open. Together, we will rebuild humanity." The starship rested quietly, ready for the next journey. The dream of a better world was alive and growing. The reboot of civilization had begun. The desert planet's sky was bright with stars as the ancient starship prepared for another journey. Leo stood on the ship's deck, looking out into the vast darkness of space. The world below had changed much since the day he first discovered the buried ship. Now, green fields and villages full of life stretched across the land. The people were no longer isolated. They were connected by hope and shared purpose. Mira joined him quietly. "We have done much," she said, "but there is still more to do." Leo nodded. The starship is more than just a machine. It is a symbol of what humanity can achieve when we work together. Nico came to join them. "We have sent messages to distant colonies. Many want to join us. We are not alone anymore. Together." They watched the stars. Each point of light was a world with people waiting to be found, waiting to be reunited. The starship's engines roared to life as it lifted off from the desert planet. The group was ready to explore new worlds, to bring more lost colonies back into the light of civilization. The ship moved smoothly through space, faster than anything they had ever known. Their first stop was a blue planet called Arden. The messages they had received said its people were ready to meet them. As the starship approached, the crew saw cities built with care, but also signs of struggle. The people had lived apart, but they had survived. Leo and his team landed and were greeted by the leaders of Arden. The meeting was hopeful but cautious. The people wanted to learn about the starship and the new civilization forming in the stars. Leo spoke with kindness. "We come as friends. We want to share what we have learned and build a future together." Over time, the people of Arden began to trust Leo and his crew. They worked together to repair old machines, build new farms, and connect with other colonies. The starship's knowledge helped them solve problems they had long faced. As news spread, more colonies sent messages of hope and willingness to join the growing civilization. The starship became a beacon, guiding humanity back to the stars and to each other. Back on the desert planet, the villages continued to grow stronger. Roads linked distant towns, and schools taught children about science, history, and the stars. People celebrated their unity with festivals and stories of the past and future. Leo, Mira, and Nico often spoke about the journey. They knew challenges would come, but they believed in the strength of the people. "We have built more than a civilization," Leo said. "We have built a family." One evening, as the starship flew between stars, Leo looked at the control panel. The ship's computer showed many planets waiting to be explored. There is so much more, he said. So many people to find. Mira smiled. We will not stop until every lost colony is found. Nico added, and until every person knows they are part of something greater. The starship's lights glowed brightly in the dark. It carried not just technology, but the hopes and dreams of all humanity. The journey to rebuild civilization was far from over, but the future was bright. Leo stood on the deck, looking at the stars. He felt proud and hopeful. The ancient starship had rebooted more than machines, it had rebooted humanity itself. As the ship moved forward into the endless night, a new dawn was rising for all people. Together, they would build a future stronger and wiser than ever before.